Hey Marcy. Don't want to throw you off right off the bat. You'll see there's several copies down here. Actually, there's one original RAW file, one original JPEG, and Lightroom creates copies. Anytime you take an image into like Photoshop, it creates a version or a copy of itself. So don't worry about that. What I did, I just took the RAW file into Develop, and I hit Reset, which resets every single one of these. Now there's a good chance that, hang on just a sec, there's a possibility that on yours everything is opened up. Wait, let me turn that off. Everything is opened up like this, so you have to keep scrolling down. What I do is right here where it says Basic, just right click. See where it says Solo Mode? That means only one panel will be open at one time, which I like that better actually. As long as you know what each one of these does, then you know right where to go to. So I'm going to come up to Basics. Now the first thing I always grab is going to be exposure, especially if I'm working with people. I want to adjust exposure until the skin looks right. Well, in this case it's going to be the deer. But I'm just going to grab exposure and I'm going to take it up until the deer itself looks pretty close to the way I want it. Now you can see, let me show you these real quick. See how this is highlighted red? If I click that and turn that off, that means the program won't tell me where. Let me turn that back off again. Okay. When that's not highlighted, see how the white, the highlights, is got a box around it? That means that everything that's too bright, like, let me go too far. Zoom out. Oh, very, very little bit. See the red? That means that it is pure white right now. It's completely blown out. There's no detail whatsoever. All I do is I grab my exposure. Let's say everything else in the image was perfect except for that little area. You can take down your exposure a little bit until it goes away. Or if everything else in the image looks really good, grab your highlights. Highlights meaning the whitest areas, and just drag that down. 9 times out of 10 it will get rid of that, but we're pretty extreme here. I've got exposure up 5 stops above where it should be. So I'm gonna reset these two, and all I'm gonna do is go on the little slider and double click, and it automatically goes to 0. Same thing with exposure. Double click and it goes right to 0. So again, exposure, I'm going to grab it and I'm going to take it up to where the deer itself, for the most part, looks the way I want it to be. And I'm going to turn on my indicators to show me where the shadows really are, the black areas. And I'll show you how to fix that in a second. And the other one were highlights. So keep these turned on. I saw you had one image posted. I didn't get a chance to comment on it. I was at work. But the really white, red, blown out areas, very easy to fix, especially with RAW and Lightroom. So don't sweat an image when you see that. But the red that you're seeing is this turned on. It's telling you where it's too bright. Okay, so now exposure is turned about where it looks pretty good. And normally I would just come down through these sliders. Actually, I'm going to bump up the black. You watch the eye. I'm going to turn it down a little bit too much. You can really see I'm going to turn the blacks way down. See how it really gets black? So I'm going to take black. I'll double click it so it's back to 0. Now all I'm going to do is drag it up just a touch until I see the blue indicated up here with this turned on. When the blue disappears, that means the darkest black areas are no longer pure black. Now there's detail. Okay? Exposure, I'm actually going to take it back down maybe just a touch. That's a little bit much, and I'll show you why in a minute. So what I'm going to do next on this image, since we're talking about grain, and I'm going to go to the Detail tab. Now, sharpening isn't really a great idea in this case on this image. See, I'm set to 25. I'm usually set about 25 on my sharpening. I'm actually going to turn that down just a little bit because I don't want it to sharpen the noise. I want to get rid of it. And then right here where it says noise reduction, you have luminance and you have color. Two different types of noise. I'm going to turn color up a little bit so you can see that better. You can see how all the dotted color spots, color noise. So you have this slider. I'll bring that up. You can go to extremes and then come back down if you want. And it looks like you go so far, it disappears, and then you can keep on going, and it actually doesn't continue to degrade the image, so you don't have to worry about going too far. Then the other is luminance. And you want to drag that up just a little bit. I'm actually going to go quite a ways, and you'll see how it totally makes all the noise go away, but you can also see that we start to lose some detail here. You can take your detail slider up to regain some of that, but you really don't want it looking like a painting, which noise reduction sliders are great for making something look like a painting. See how it just completely smoothed this right out? So it's good for more than just getting rid of noise. So I'm going to take it back down just a little bit. It looks pretty good. You still see some noise, but you know, if we zoom out on this, you're not going to see that. People aren't going to zoom in like this. Okay, so we'll go back up to basics and zoom out a little bit. Actually, let's go to tonal curve. Now, this is the same as this right here. And what I want to do is, let me back out. I want to brighten the whole image. So I'm going to start over in this area, say this half of the screen. I'm going to click on this line and I'm going to push this up just a little bit. See how it overall gets bright? You don't want to go too far with this curve. Now I'm going to go down here to the shadow areas and I'm going to drag this down just a little bit. And I'm going to go to extreme and show you what it does. See how it makes it deeper and more contrast? And if I go high, it really mutes everything out, makes it look dull. So I'm just going to come down just a little bit. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And another thing you might want to get in the habit of doing, see lens correction. Under color, remove chromatic aberration. Always click that. Turn that on. Your lens typically has a tendency to make an outline. You'll see a colored outline along like branches and hair and things like that. If you turn that off, the computer will Lightroom will get rid of that. And I'm sure you've seen that many times before. Okay, so we're basically there. I mean, we don't really have a whole lot more that we want to do. You can turn highlights up to emphasize some of the bright areas. Remember, we used it to get rid of that real bright area. You can do the same thing with white and it'll brighten the whole overall image. If I go too far, you can see what it does. I just want to brighten it just a little bit. And then shadow, if I take shadow up, you'll notice this area in the face gets a little brighter while everything else kind of stays the same. And then the last two, presence, is clarity, which is kind of like contrast and sharpening at the same time. See how if I go really extreme, see what happens? And if I go the opposite way, it gets real muted. So you want to just go up just a little bit. It brings back some of the detail that we lost by doing that with the noise reduction. And then vibrance. See how it makes it more colorful or less colorful? It's kind of like saturation. I think it does a better job in most cases. And there you have it. That's about it. There's all kinds of other things that you can come down through and play with. And I really suggest that you go on to solo mode. Just take one panel at a time and slowly just kind of go through and get a feel for what each one does. Like white balance, for example. We can use that to make it look like more of a sunny day. Oh, sorry. Or we can go the opposite way, and put more blue, like an evening shot. That's white balance. You normally want to use that to tweak out and make it look the way it really was, but you can also use it to make it look more creative and more artistic. Okay, so I better stop. I think I'm gonna have to get going here. My session's gonna start shortly. But I hope this helps you, and this is just a few of the basics, but let me know how you make out with this.